Okay, that's a an expert. Actually, he started the whole wave of electronic music. He's popularly known as Mop, but his real name is Andrea Benini, and he took that stage name Mop because that's how he became very, very popular. That tune was called Kamakumba. It's from his 2013 album Isle of Magic. This is Leid Stories. I'm Yatrice Leid, and we continue trying to unravel the many mysteries that surround us and trying to see what sense we can make of them. I'll start off with, well, I have a lot of different topics here. We're not going to get to all of them. This is our recurring theme. We have more material than time to cover it all. But we'll make a strong effort and we'll just go and see how far we get along with these topics today. I wonder whether you have figured out Bernie Sanders' political identity yet. And he has, of course, he announced he's running for president at 77. He and Joe Biden, who also seems to be in the running, are the senior most candidates so far. And that's a good thing because it adds a different dimension. It adds a dimension of experience and expertise. They have been in the political arena for a long time, and they bring a sense of assurance, I think, to voters, given the fact that the Trump administration has been calamitous, just absolute chaos and calamity. And maybe that would be a good thing. With them in the race, it would temper the political climate a bit. But as the race begins, and it isn't going to be too long before, it's one of those things, you have to commit seriously and build your organization to lift you off the ground and to put you where you imagine you want to be as a candidate. But we still seem to have a little trouble properly reading Bernie Sanders. We don't know what kind of animal he is. Where does he belong in the animal kingdom? Is he fish or fowl or what? And do you think that would, in fact, impact negatively on him, where the voters are not quite sure who and what he is, more so what he is? He allies himself with the Democratic Party and works closely with the Democratic Party, but he is a registered independent. And he seems to move seamlessly among the parties when he has to get some things done and maintains a good line of communication. But still, it seems to trouble people that they can't exactly read him. They know of many instances where he has taken a stand, and that stand is in line with his political viewpoint. But then there are other things that people worry that if he says he is, let's say, X, but he's sounding like he's more Y, it does confuse things. So I thought I'd ask you to your own mind, where does Bernie Sanders belong in the political spectrum? As a voter, how are you inclined to react to his candidacy based on what you suspect he is, since he hasn't, at least to my knowledge, he hasn't made it quite clear? Are we going to go through again what we went through in the last round of elections, where people had trouble with the same problem? He's neither fish nor fowl. He's both, and you can't be both. You have to plant your feet somewhere, because this is how American politics works. Most important as you start out is people want to know, what is your political identity? In order to support a candidate, is the candidate asking me to jump ship from my party and go over to whichever party he affiliates with? Is the candidate basically taking a clearer position on what he believes, and more so, what party is going to, drive him to the winning slot? This is a problem. I mean, Sanders talks very bluntly, very openly about his positions. I can't say that he tries to confuse people, but on this matter, I'm not so sure that he's done so far an excellent job of making it clear what the label is that voters contemplating supporting him, what is the label that he bears that they could live with and therefore support him? Am I making too much of this? Or is it something that in time, and it's not going to take too much longer before we get emphatic statements from Bernie Sanders as to where his political allegiances lie? It's too bad that in the United States we have certain proclivities as voters. And one of the more startling ones, considering that we always talk about how sophisticated we are, is that we want things made really simple. We don't want to have to spend too much time deciphering a message. Tell us who you are. Tell us what column you're going to appear in. Tell us what party you're affiliated with. Tell us what the tenets of your run. What are you running for? Hopefully, not what you're running from, but what you're running for. So I would hate to think that with his candidacy picking up speed and good turnout and good support, that somehow he will lose a very valuable portion of the vote simply because people are having trouble reading him right. Am I off the mark here on this, or is it, just a function of me getting older and my brain cells can't handle it? I don't know. But it seems to me that he's also taking positions that, are giving people a second thought. For example, he recently expressed his position on reparations. He's not in favor of reparations. Okay, I appreciate the fact that he was clear about that. He's not in favor of reparations. Instead, he says he's in favor of fairness to everyone. He says that people are calling for reparations, but nobody seems to know how they will work this thing. How will it work out? You just cut everybody a check? What is the process to be? And we talked about that here as well. But at the same time, he's saying these things. Does he recognize that it is resonating very deeply in the African American community in particular, and not well? It's not coming across well. So, do you see something emerging here with Bernie Sanders as regards clarity? Is he being very clear about things that are of great concern to this broad base of supporters or would be supporters? Is he assuming that everybody is in the same pot? So let's not get into the finite and minute details, but let's go instead for the broad appeal, and that would be far more representative of where I am as a progressive man. But this issue of his political identity is emerging again as a problematic area. And all the more so that he can't afford a repeat. He just can't. So, what are you thinking about Brother Bernie and whether he has made it, as Malcolm X used to say, made it plain where he's going, what he believes, what he wants to do? I give him credit for making an extra effort of vigorously courting the vote, but I think he's having a little bit of trouble. 888-874-4888. Let's start with Brother Bernie Sanders and see what he's saying. Willie from Brooklyn, you're on the air.
Good afternoon, beloved. How are you?
Okay, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you feeling today?
I'm hanging in
Listen,
there.
listening is really an art. I'm sitting here listening to you, and I'm just dying because you're having so much fun. When you ask a question, Brother
You
Bernie,
have to have some kind of fun. There's got to be
I
some
don't.
benefit to doing the program.
I
And one of
really,
those,
I really
you have
don't.
to
I
hold on to
really.
your sense of humor.
Every day I listen to your program and Gary twice because it's filled with so much information. And for those that don't know how, just go to Progressive Archive and you can really re-listen. I have to listen twice, but
So,
you know
where do
I
you
would.
place? What is your
Huh?
feeling as Bernie Sanders begins to mount his campaign? Is he doing a better job of outreach, or is he continuing to befuddle people? What do you get from him?
No. Let me answer what you had said. Where does Bernie belong? Bernie belongs in jail for what he did and for what he's attempting to do again. Because
Okay,
I
well,
mean,
what did he do?
fraud for fraud. You play the entire American people. I mean, a large portion of the American people, and it was under false pretense. You did a program on it,
But
so
I mean, you have to recognize we're talking politics here,
yes,
and the name of the game in politics is tell them whatever, as
right,
long as it helps you win.
right.
You'll sort
But
out the details once you take the oath of office, and it arises again as a problem. But what message do you get about the Sanders campaign, even in its nascent stage, as he only recently announced and formalized his intention to run? Is he inspiring confidence in the electorate? What do you think?
you treat what I personally I just dismiss it because it's an insult to my intelligence for him to come again with the same game like he did as last time. So I'll let somebody else get on and express their thoughts. All right?
So, as far as you're concerned, Bernie is repeating a fraud that he committed the last time he ran.
It is clear to Stephen Wonder.
Okay. Well, we'll see how other people are reacting to that. That's a very heavy charge. Steve from New York, you're on the air.
Yeah, rather than give my opinion, I'll tell you. If you read Glenn Ford's article in Black Agenda magazine, he makes a blanket indictment of all the Democratic candidates. And I think
but that is Glenn's opinion. That is Glenn's
I think
opinion.
he's right. I think he's right on.
Is what is your opinion? I want to know what you are thinking, not what somebody else is thinking. And I have the greatest of respect for Glenn.
And he's a writer, and I'm not. He says it better than me. You know who he is, I'm sure. You know, I think he's okay. I think he's quite a guy. Okay, I think Bernie is a fraud. I think all the Democratic candidates are not going to get us any place. He sold out to Hillary last time, and I gave him money. I'm never going to do it again. I think he's an absolute fraud. And believe me, I've been fighting with a lot of my friends who would say, oh, no, he's going to be better. Look what he said. He said there'd be other elections in Venezuela, which is not good enough for me. I think he'll do the same thing. When they don't allow him to be president, and that's what the Democratic Party will do, because the same old Nancy Pelosi, Dianne Feinstein types are running things, and they don't let him get any place, he will again turn to supporting the Democratic candidate, which I find unconscionable. Personally, I think the only hope this country has is third party.
And these turnouts that we're seeing then don't impress you?
No. I think he's a Democrat. I think he's trying to make friends. Look, you know, I'm retired. I've done pretty well in life, but I see what's going on for other people. I am not a capitalist. He is still a capitalist, even though he calls himself a socialist or a democratic socialist, whatever that means. Okay? He wants to make peace with these people, and I don't think you can do it. I think, you know, we have to get rid of it. I know it's a long road to hoe, but you have to start someplace. And it starts with third parties, where none of these people are beholden to the Democratic machine. Otherwise, it's a waste of time and money, and I'm not buying it. You know, but people like to be fooled.
At the stage at which the race is being run now, you know, people are just now announcing either they will run, or as in the case of Hillary Clinton, that she will not run, as if, you know, we're supposed to fall on our knees and beg her to run. Are you sufficiently impressed with the candidates who have presented themselves so far?
No. And I just said why. No. They all want to make peace, and they all want to have accords with the Democratic Party.
Okay.
And it can't be. The Democratic Party is the banking party. The Democratic Party is the war party. Same as the Republicans. On the big issues, they're one and the same. They're the capitalist party, and as long as you have that, the rich are going to keep on getting richer, the poor are going to get poorer, and you're going to see slowly the evisceration of the middle class. You know, and they can put in whoever they want, and they can spout all their bull. I've had it. I'm sitting up in the country now. I moved out of New York. I'm going to watch the whole thing. I, like you, haven't voted for a Democratic candidate. I've only voted third parties in all the elections. And this time I'm probably not even going to do that. I have just had it up to here. So what can I say? And I wish somebody would prove me wrong, but you're going to see. It's the same game. It's the same bunch of bull.
Well, I thank you for contributing and speaking your mind today. James from New York, what are we to think of Bernie Sanders? Is he fish or fowl? Have you figured it out?
Yes, I have, sister. Listen, number one, as I see it, is that this is the year of of 2020, over 100 years ago, white women were given the right to vote. Hillary jumped ship way ahead of time, trying to become the first female president, and messed up Libya. Then we go back to this year, when white women were given the right to vote. We don't have a horse in this particular race, or we had to start our own race with somebody like we know that's been battle tested. Cynthia, what was her name?
McKinney? Cynthia McKinney?
Cynthia McKinney. If we want to throw our vote behind somebody and the independent, go with Cynthia McKinney.
But let me ask you specifically to address the question on the table. What do you think is posing a problem or will pose a problem for this candidacy that is only just started? He's only just started. What do you think the problem or problems will be?
Well, as I see it, somewhat is that when Bernie's the statement that you made that Bernie made regarding reparations, that he wants to cut everybody a check. Well, I look at it as that I don't want a check. I want the 40 acres. As Spike Lee said, 40 acres and a mule. Now, who's going to be the mule? A mule?
Are you
a mule?
going to be, as a voter, are you going to be, this is the issue that supersedes all others for you?
As a voter, I haven't voted for the Democratic Party, even though my registration is with the Democratic Party, only because the bait and switch that they did with Jesse Jackson, except I was in the Liberal Party. And when Jesse ran those 2 times, I acquiesced to come in as a Democrat. And since then, when Obama ran, I refused to change or fill out another voter registration. Just leave it like that and let me pick who I want to see as the head of a party or say who is running.
What could Bernie Sanders do to impress you and to persuade you to give him another look?
He can't.
Okay.
He can't.
Jeez.
He can't. Nobody in the Democratic lineup. Was there a time when Sister Fannie Lou Hamer chose to say she was the Mississippi Democratic Party, and they wouldn't let her use a portion of their name?
The Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party.
Yeah.
But it gave rise to Jesse Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was not a pleasant experience either. I wrote a lot about it. But anyway, so Bernie Sanders is not for you. You don't care whether he's fish or fowl. You dismiss him altogether.
The whole platform, even dealing with say Trump going down to keep the people up, putting up the wall. Haiti could pay for it. They could give Trump give Trump $5 billion and let those people stay down where they're at. You can give them $5 billion because Haiti has a reservoir of gold. And let us tend to our needs.
Well, we shall see. But I thank you so much for sharing your opinion and speaking very frankly, too, today. Thank you so much. E from Edgewater, are you beginning to be confused again about Bernie Sanders? Is he coming across more clearly this time as a candidate than he was the last time?
Hi, Trace. Good afternoon. I'm glad to hear you hanging in there.
I'm hanging.
Yeah, we're all hanging upside down. Well, I wasn't expecting Willie to say what he said. He knocked me off my seat when he said he should go. He should be in jail. I wasn't expecting it from Willie, but I have to agree with him. But first, I like to see Bill and Hillary go there before him, and then, then maybe
that's going to happen. I'm telling you, it's going to happen. The investigations into the Bill and Hillary Clinton Foundation and other related political acts that brought in a lot of money for them that still cannot be accounted for. As you know, the last time we reported on that, it was in the amount of billions, that's with a B, billions of dollars. But I want to know when Bernie Sanders ran the first time, what was your reaction to his candidacy?
Well, I've been through that many times that because he was going up against Hillary and he was the only one to step forward and run against her, and she had the superdelegates. He really didn't, use any of his power to try to bring out her bad points or anything. He sort of just let her have her way, and I felt he sold out to the 13 million followers of his. But what I wanted to say, though, is yesterday the last two callers were talking about his three houses, and you said they shouldn't talk about what he has, but I found it very funny that I just watched the other day something that Bernie was telling us all about what Donald Trump's got. And he got, when he was a young boy, his father gave him all of this money. And all Bernie could say was, when he was a little boy, he just got a quarter a week allowance, and Donald Trump is getting... Well, what business is it of Bernie Sanders if Donald Trump's father's a shrewd businessman and he wants to share his money with his children? That's his prerogative. That's not for Bernie to be criticizing about. So for that, I think Bernie should be running in the hypocrite party. That would be the party for Bernie to run.
I mean, we have to take into consideration. I mean, we need not mount these high moral horses this quickly. I'm just asking because, of course, as time goes by, you get deeper and deeper in analyzing Sanders and all other candidates. But we're looking to see whether he is learning anything from the last time he ran, and he did start off the last time he ran quite impressively, irrespective of the particular issues that people disagreed with him on. But this time, I'm wondering whether you get a sense that he has improved, or he has listened, or he is paying attention to things that people really dislike and making an effort not to do them. From what you're saying, it seems as if you think he has not improved.
No, but he's still going to manage to fool the same people that he fooled 2 years ago, and that's what I'm worried about. But if he does survive See, I thought he was running as an independent party. I was wrong in that. He's running in the Democratic Party. So if he does somehow manage to get the nomination, I think he's going to find a way to mess things up somehow. And don't forget, by the time November 2020 comes, he's going to be closing in on 80 years old. So this is definitely his last chance. If he wants to become the first Jewish president ever to be elected in the United States, this is his final chance to do that. After 37 years in the political whatever word, I can't think of one right now, but in Vermont for 37 years, a nice cushy job in Vermont where nothing ever happens except people go skiing and they make maple syrup there. He hardly has made a peep.
You can't say that. I mean,
hardly
all
makes
jobs,
a peep.
it's not a cushy job. There's a position available to run for that people may just decide, okay, I'll run for it, but it's not a cushy job. Being an elected official is not a cushy job. So
it's not like being mayor of New York City. You know, being mayor of Burlington, Vermont, he really didn't have that much. Well, I shouldn't be saying these things because I don't know exactly what he does there. But for 37 years, being in the political stream of things, I really didn't hear too much about Bernie till he ran against Hillary. And now he has this and that to say about Donald Trump all the time. He's trying to make like he's in our boat. He's not in our boat. He's in Donald Trump's boat. He's sitting in the front row of Donald Trump's boat, where they all have millions of dollars, and he's being a hypocrite, trying to make like he's with us. That's why the two callers yesterday were bringing out the fact that he has 3 houses, and he's coming off like he's on our side. That's why I say he belongs in the hypocritical party.
But you see, I'm saying that we have to elevate our game. By that I mean, we should not sink to the level of making summary judgments about people based on what we think they have. We don't know how he got 3 houses.
Exactly.
You know. By that I mean, it could have been a factor of being given the property through, seniors in his family. We don't know. And in any event, how do we feel so comfortable about the idea of saying, well, he has 3 houses, and then begin the process of coming to conclusions predicated on something that makes no sense. Now, if we have detailed information, okay. But to me, it is disturbing when people say, well, he has 3 houses, so he's not one of us. You never know how people come by their property. It could have been.
I agree, though. I agree with you. I agree with you on that. Whatever he has, that's his right to have. I wasn't the one saying that. The last 2 callers yesterday were bringing that point. But the point I was making was, here he's criticizing Donald Trump for getting all this money when he was young. That's his father's right to take care of his children the way Donald Trump's father wanted to take care of them. That's not Bernie's problem of what Donald Trump's got, because Bernie shouldn't be complaining. He's got plenty for himself already, and he bought himself a nice $800,000 lake house last 2 years ago, right after he lost to Hillary and told his 13 million followers to now join in with Hillary. That was the point I'm making.
We are off topic because the topic is, to your mind and observation, is Bernie Sanders presenting a profile in this election that suggests that he learned a thing or two from the last election?
Sure, I don't know what he learned. I'm sure he has it all mapped out. in his strategy, but I don't agree with him starting out attacking Donald Trump, but that's how it's going to be. I see he's going to get the nomination, and this is going to be like another circus going on. And for some stupid reason, I don't know what it is, I just have a feeling we're going to have 4 more years of Trump. But, instead of hearing about him attacking other people, he should come up with some good points. Like, we're trying to give Venezuela some aid. The people need some food. They need some medical supplies. And all this stuff is sitting there because Maduro doesn't want it to come in. And China and Russia is criticizing America. So let's give the aid that we have for Venezuela to Haiti and Honduras, and let Russia and China.
You see, there are very serious concerns about the aid. Let me just mention them before we move on. The concerns about the aid is that it may not be aid. People have been raising the specter that the foodstuffs and so forth may be tainted and may not be good to eat or consume. That's one thing.
Yes.
Secondly,
that's all
they have to get the aid across the borders and into the country, which means it's like the Trojan horse syndrome. Your fighters come along with the aid, and as soon as they cross into Venezuela, then you have a ready contingent willing and able to attack. So it's not just about aid. And this is the point that China was making.
That's what I'm saying.
But we're off topic, and I hate it when we go off topic. The topic we're asking you to address today is based on what is unfolding from what we observe. We don't know all of the facts or anything, but based on what we observe of Bernie Sanders so far, as his candidacy develops, and as we are able to compare and contrast his position compared to the last time he ran, do we get a sense that he's learned anything from his first run? Do you get a sense that he's doing anything different from his first run? That's where we ought to be today. I thank you so much for your frank and open discussion. I really do appreciate it. Tony from Orlando, you're on the air.
Hi, Utrice. Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you for calling in.
I think Bernie Sanders is a fraud, just like I think Ocasio-Cortez is a fraud. It just came out today that Ocasio-Cortez was laundering money to a tune of $1 million, taking money out from her campaign and into a private company. They just got busted. So they run that socialist, but they live a capitalist lifestyle.
Report that accurately. That was not accurately reported by you. The contention is that her chief of staff secretly was funneling money that was raised to support her campaign into companies, 2 private companies. And they're trying to get the trail established now. She was not accused. So let's be really accurate about that. She was not accused. She didn't know about this and found out just when the authorities let it be known. Go ahead.
Busted. My point is they got busted. They run as socialists because what they truly are capitalists. Capitalists look at vacuums and they fill them. They take advantage of the people, okay? And that's what they're doing, okay? That's what Bernie Sanders is doing. What he learned from the last election is that you make a lot of money when you run for president, whether you win or lose. And that's what he's doing.
That was my criticism of the Jesse Jackson's candidacy. And Sharpton's candidacy for president. There's a lot that goes on in politics, but it is straight across the board. So I would like you, if you could divorce yourself from the animus that you have against so-called progressives and liberals and so forth. Could you give us a bit more substance to support your point of view?
Well, my substance is if you're gonna, it's like you have to practice what you preach. This is the same problem that the Republicans have had for years when they Bible thump and tell you that you have to live a moral life a style, and then they get busted for cheating on their wife. Okay, that's the same hypocrite. The same. I see that as the same hypocrisy that a socialist Democrat, when you run against the 1%, but yet you inspire to become one of the 1%.
Now answer this question.
American people.
When was the last time you voted on the basis of morality?
It's been a long time, Yatrice. That's exactly my point. That's exactly my point.
That's my point. The point is that we put ourselves in this situation all the time. Politics is far from perfect. It's nasty business. But still, when it comes to associating ourselves with a vote for person A or person B, we require utmost and impeccable character and political history. No. You'll have to figure out what you could live with and what you can't live with, because nobody running for office today is perfect. Nobody. So I want to return you to the question. In your view, is the Bernie Sanders who intends to run for a second time the same Bernie Sanders or a different Bernie Sanders as it resonates with you?
He's the same Bernie Sanders because he's running on the Democrat platform. He has, like I said, he's a capitalist capitalizing on an idea that idea is not part of either the Republican or the Democrat platform. But he's using the Democrat platform because either he's using their money or their political system or what have you. But as you can see for yourself, you don't trust it, because once these politicians are in that system, they don't work for us, the people, anymore. Okay, they work for themselves. That's what happens in Washington. And as an independent, if he was to run as an independent, people will probably respect that more than as running as a Democrat, because we saw what happened the last time. He sold everybody out.
Oh. Okay. Well, you redeemed yourself.
No, and I don't have anything particularly against any progressive or any Republican. I'm really more of an independent myself.
I just like the idea that you recouped and put together a decent argument. I like that.
I said, I'm more of an independent, but I call it as I see it, Yatrice. You know, whether you're progressive or you're conservative, if I see that what you're saying, it's like a preacher in a church. You can't, or these Catholic priests that prey on children, but yet they're supposed to be men of God. I mean, that's just pure hypocrisy, Yatrice, whether it's in church or in politics or in life. You got to call it how it is.
But you know what? For decades, in fact, for centuries, people have known that it's a hypocritical position, and still they will not allow themselves to challenge it. They let it go on and on and on. And they convince themselves that, well, it's the church. So this is a holy man and you can't attack a holy man. That kind of stuff. But you did well. You did well in making your point today. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. So, David from Brooklyn, you're on the air.
You, Yatrice. I want to throw my bit in here. As I look at Bernie Sanders, I look at someone who is, at this point, putting out a lot of social and economic things that would benefit the masses of people. But to me, that's just talk. That's part of him playing people. And what he's doing is he's doing this in the midst of a place that is a capitalist, American capitalist country that is got the biggest empire in the world, and he's doing it in a party controlled by the oligarchs or plutocrats that run the party. And if those things that he is telling people about the health care that would be single payer and destroy the insurance companies and all the other things, this would all be against the continuation of capitalist exploitation of the masses of people that live in this country. So I see it as him being under the heading of a party that is absolutely against all the things that he mentioned. So this is a case where he can tell the masses of us, all of us, about how he'd like all these good social things that would benefit us. And when it comes down to doing it, there's no way that he is going to be able to do what he says on a situation other than a really revolutionary system. And when you have his support, let's say, for international things, he seems to be very aggressive. He's for continuation of the persecution of Venezuela and what he said about Libya and things like that. And so he's absolutely into the capitalist camp for that. So those who rule, may say, "Oh, that's nice. He's not a sheepdog, but I say a Judas goat for the people, corralling those who have these progressive ideas." And even if he got in to be president, the ruling class would certainly not look favorably towards doing the things that he's saying, because the only way you're going to do that is basically by a revolutionary action. And if anything is done, it will be reversed, just like the Great Society and New Deal are slowly being reversed. So the point is that I look at Bernie Sanders as a jive turkey.
Oh, my gosh. So if it is your view that Bernie Sanders is doing a kind of repeat of the last time he ran, what is the value to the Democratic Party, say, to have him run and compete for votes against a Democratic candidate?
Well, the point is they would like him to be in this mix because it would be a death knell for them if he ran as an independent. He could run as an independent candidate outside the umbrella of the Democratic Party, and that to them that probably would split the vote. You see, so the point is they're putting him in under that Democrat umbrella, and they're keeping him in the corral. So at the time when the election comes up, you can maybe have that again happen where they keep everybody in the Democratic corral, even though Bernie is not the candidate. If he's the candidate, I think he hasn't changed from imperialism and the capitalist economics, and that's what American capitalist economics would be against all those things that he is telling people that he's for, all those local social things and important things. They don't want that. They want profit, and so is also no, in terms of so-called defense, really war. I'm wondering about what he is saying about that. But the point is, how can you be against that if the capitalists that run the place are making billions and trillions of dollars off of warfare? We're in the business of warfare in this country. So I don't know if Bernie is a person that I could trust for anything.
Wow, today we're getting strong anti-Bernie vibes here. I didn't expect that. But thank you so much, David, for calling in and sharing your thoughts. Khalil from South Carolina, you will be the last person in our sojourn into politics today.
Hi, hope everyone is well.
Thank you.
Learning a lot from listening. So I have a slightly different take. I'm operating from the frame point that we know the system is corrupt, which most of us agree with, and you cannot get on the ballot most likely in all 50 states unless you're part of the club. So, and if they let you succeed in that club, right? So maybe it's about like bookmarks, but bookends. I mean, so like Malcolm X was a bookend to Martin Luther King, in terms of America could assume that if you don't agree with King, then this is what you're going to get from Malcolm X. So you need to, in other words, you need to show what the extremes could be.
But let me ask you to be specific about what you have observed so far, and it's early, what you have observed of Bernie Sanders so far as
I'm
a
not
presidential candidate. Is he repeating some of the same disturbing patterns, or is he improved?
So far, and I'm trying to be clinical about this and not have any bias. So far, I see that he is almost the same as he was last time because he feels like he has to bring up, I'm against identity politics. And it was, if he had reached out, if his grassroots had gotten out into the black community in the South, especially early on, he would have done much better. But he waited too late. Most blacks in the South don't know anything about, white progressives in New York and New England, or, it's not there. So this is what I'm saying. So, right, I'm sorry, I'm trying to answer your question. But I'm looking beyond that.
You're doing good.
You see, and this serves a function, because it wasn't Bernie that was crooked. It was the DNC that was crooked. You see, they didn't let him in. They don't have to.
You see, I suspect that he knew that chances were slim to none that he would actually get in to begin with. So the question I asked the last time he ran was, why did he hang in there for so long and then capitulate?
To keep the ideas out there. If we look now, minimum wage at $15 is not hyperbolic any longer. You see,
but he's turning all of his turning his votes into a system that he fundamentally disagrees with. It was the same question I asked of Jesse Jackson. If you had such good pulling power, and it was very impressive, why are you handing that over to a party that despises you and that despises your political base. Why are you giving that away? Why aren't you building on that until you reach a point of critical mass and then can run successful campaigns? I didn't see it as a losing proposition. I mean, you run for president the first time and you expect to win? Come on now.
Mm-hmm. I see your point, because if you're serious, your first objective will be to formulate a critical mass so that you can move forward.
Yep.
I would think.
And there's no shame in it. You don't come at it as if you are embarrassed or ashamed or disappointed in yourself. It's a great statement. It was a great victory, in my view. Now, what he wanted was instant success. And to get it, you have to organize for it. It doesn't happen that way. You know, he knows that better than most anybody running for office. So I don't understand why Jackson, well, I do understand. I think we got an explanation, a workable explanation from David today. David gave us an explanation that tells us why these candidates seemingly go at odds even to themselves and their professed campaigns. They have another agenda. Well, we will continue this discussion because this is what we ought to do. We ought to talk to each other and look at the great instruction we got today, great information, and people are understanding how systems work. So we'll see each other again tomorrow on the air. Thanks so much for calling in and contributing and doing so with a great sense of humor. Bye-bye.